Hello everybody, and welcome to the review for Halo SPV3. And today, we are basically just going to be talking about my thoughts on this mod. And, wait, hold on. Oh, okay, never mind. It's still recording. Yeah, I used PowerPoint. Woo, big surprise. Anyway. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to be talking about is features, and the first thing for features will be weapons. So, in the top left, you have the Brute Piercer, and then in the top middle, you have the Brute Shredder, and then in the top right, you have the Void's Tier Plasma Pistol variant, and then in the bottom left, you have the Brute Plasma Pistol. The bottom middle, you have the Plasma Rifle, Brute Plasma Rifle. And then on the bottom right, you have the mid-reload animation for the Shredder. Now, the significance of these images is I'm going to be talking about what makes them unique and why I think that they're great additions to the mod. So, first thing I wanted to address is that basically they're giving the Brutes older Covenant tech, and it's really cool, that whole concept of that. The Piercer looks completely like Brute tech, though. It doesn't really look like old Covenant tech. You could find the Brute Piercer off of Grunt Ultras and sometimes other Brutes, but mostly Grunt Ultras. It's a very interesting weapon with extremely fast melee, and it does high melee damage, and it's really fun to use. It's like a 5-round burst pistol. It's really strange. It's kind of like a predecessor to the Spiker in a way. My favorite weapon in the mod, I think, my favorite new weapon would probably be the Shredder. Just because of how cool it is. I mean, it's basically like a Needler, but better. It shoots faster, has more rounds in it. It starts to shoot faster after you... Well, the thing itself doesn't shoot faster, but rather it, how do I describe this? The projectiles move faster is what I mean. Yeah, they rush forward instead of being like a crazy lock-on thing like the needles from a Needler are. It's a really interesting weapon. I like the color scheme for it, and I love the reload animation. Speaking of reload animations, the reload animations in this mod were very well done, and I really like them. They give it a very more unique look. I've never seen reload animations like that. They're very, very good. And then I like how they had unique weapons like Void's Tier in the top right, where basically if you held it and did a charged shot, instead of doing a thing that would take down your shields, it would actually basically do a gravity grenade effect. It would make it like a little gravity grenade thing, except you're not using a grenade, you're using a plasma pistol. And then the just default primary fire did more damage than a normal plasma pistol. And then under that you have the Brute Plasma Pistol on the left, which would shoot 3 individual plasma bullets with the primary fire, and then if you held down and did the secondary fire, if you held down, if you did a charged fire, you would get basically a flame on the ground, and it would set any grenades on the ground on fire and explode them. And then the Brute Plasma Rifle actually shoots slower than normal plasma rifle, but also has a slight lock-on effect, just a little bit. And it takes a little slower to start shooting more quickly, but I think it does more damage. So yeah, it's very interesting. Whoops, didn't mean to do that. Anyway. Now we have some of the other weapons, unique weapons. So you have the battle rifle is added to the game, and you see the suppressed variant on the upper left, and it basically... it does exactly what it sounds like. It basically just suppresses your battle rifle. And as long as you haven't been seen, they can't hear it, so they won't detect you. So it's pretty cool. Another thing I liked what they did with the battle rifles is that the ammo counter would be a different color depending on what variant. So if you're using the suppressed variant, it has red ammo. It has a red ammo counter light. And then the normal battle rifle... just the default battle rifle with nothing special on it is green, and then the grenade launcher battle rifle is blue. Then there's the brute shot to the right of that, and it does exactly what it does in other games, except it does more damage in this, I think, with the grenades. And then you have the assault rifle, and that's the grenade launcher variant there, and it does exactly what it sounds like. You basically have an underslung grenade launcher. It's pretty cool. And you can replenish grenade launcher ammo with rocket launcher ammo packs. To the right of that, just under the brute shot, is the DMR, and basically it's the perfect cross between a sniper rifle and the battle rifle. It's a longer range than the battle rifle, but doesn't shoot, like, it doesn't have as much range as a sniper rifle. It does more damage than the battle rifle, but not as much as a sniper rifle. And it has a faster fire rate than a sniper rifle, but the battle rifle has a faster fire rate. So the battle rifle is for slightly closer engagements, and then the DMR is for long-range engagements, but also if you're going to be getting close to people. So it's basically perfect for the level Halo. The DMR is the ultimate weapon for that map. Another thing I forgot to mention about the battle rifle is that if you zoom in and you press the flashlight button, you will it'll actually change from 30-round burst to single shot to semi-auto. So you can change from semi-auto and burst while zoomed. And that was originally a feature that was going to be in Halo 2. And it was showcased in the beta, but it didn't make it into the final game. You can see it in the E3 footage. If you look it up on YouTube, you can probably find it. Below the DMR is the suppressed SMG. So there's two variants of the SMG. There's a normal SMG, and there's a suppressed SMG. The suppressed SMG is more unique because it's suppressed, number one, so you don't have as much noise. And it has a zoom feature like it did in ODST. However, the other SMG does not. Another side note I wanted to mention, this mod does not add dual wielding, to my knowledge, because I never saw any button prompts to do it. Anyway, so the SMG is basically like, it's very, very dominant for close quarters situations. It's very, very good at that. Now you may be wondering, well, why wouldn't you just use the assault rifle? Wouldn't it do more damage? Here's the thing about the assault rifle. It's been changed in a way to where it starts firing slowly, so you can actually control your fire for medium range engagements, and you can actually zoom in with the assault rifle, so you can use it for much longer ranges than you were able to use it in the original game, where it would just kind of spread everywhere like an SMG in Halo 2 or something like that. And the SMG works like the assault rifle originally did in Combat Evolved. It has like a really fast fire rate, has a ton of rounds in the magazine, basically, and it works like that. The assault rifle, on the other hand, actually acts more like an assault rifle, where it has a slower fire rate until you start holding down the trigger, where the fire rate starts to get faster and faster and faster until it reaches its fastest speed, as long as you keep holding down the trigger. So if you get closer to someone, you can eventually start firing faster, but the assault rifle really shines at medium range engagements, and then the it does work very well in close quarters and mid-range engagements, but the SMG dominates the assault rifle. If you're just doing close range, the SMG will win, like, basically 9 times out of 10. Then under that, you have the Sentinel Beam, the long-range version of the Sentinel Beam. There's 2 versions of the Sentinel Beam, and you get them just like you'd expect. You basically kill a Sentinel, and then you can pick up their Sentinel Beam, just like in Halo 2. So the long-range variant is very interesting because whenever you're unscoped, it will basically, like, spread the beams, like, everywhere. Almost like a shotgun, like a beam shotgun. It's really weird. And then if you zoom in, it focuses the beam and does a ton of damage. And it can zoom in really far. And then to the right of that, you had the flamethrower added basically from Halo multiplayer, except the flames do even more damage, and you can also catch yourself on fire if you're not careful. To the right of that is the Jackal Shield, which is something I've been always wanting to use, Like, basically, ever since I started playing Halo, I was thinking, how come we can't pick up the Jackal shield from dead Jackals? Now, sadly, you can't pick it up from dead Jackals, but you can find it, like, as, like, equipment laying around. So you can pick it up, and basically you hold it like a plasma pistol, except instead of shooting, you basically get something that shields you. And, it is a little hard to see through, but it can be done. It's usually best used if you're low on health. You could just kind of whip it out and then crouch down and it'll give you some temporary cover. Or if you're dealing with something like a hunter and you need to move across a corridor quickly but also not get too much damage taken, you basically point the Jackal shield in the direction of your threat and while moving away from it. Kind of like how skirmishers use their shields. Speaking of which... Oh wait, never mind. We're not at that part yet. I screwed up. But that's okay. I'm not going to edit any of that out. Armor abilities. So, like the Jackal shield is kind of like an equipment, you also have this kind of equipment, like from Halo Reach. You have armor abilities. So, health regen does exactly what you think it does. It regenerates your health, but it only regenerates up to a certain point. Like, basically, it will generate, like, most of your health, but not all of it. So you still need to use health packs if you want to get full health. To the right of that is sprint, and it works exactly like it does in Halo Reach. You basically you activate your sprint by pressing the flashlight button, and then you just start sprinting until you run out of battery for it, and then the battery recharges. And then to the right of that, you have visor mode, and it works exactly like it does in ODST, except that it does have a battery, but the battery drains extremely slowly, and by the time the battery would be drained, you would already be kind of like out of the area that you would need visor mode for, so it's fine. Moving on, we now have new vehicles added to the game, like the... What's that called again? Oh, I can't remember what it's called. It's basically like what became the Spectre in Halo 2, but oh yeah, I remember, the Shadow. Yeah, it's called the Shadow, the top left. And that was originally a vehicle that was like gonna be in Halo. Whenever, like, if you look at the old E3 footage, when they had like the third-person version of Halo and everything, when it was gonna be on Mac, they had the Shadow in the game, but then they removed it in the final version. This adds it back into the game. And another thing I wanted to mention was this adds vehicle boarding, which nobody thought was possible to do in Combat Evolved, but the SPV3 team did it. I mean, props to Masters and his team. That's really, really amazing that they were able to do that. I never thought it would be possible. Another thing this mod adds is it adds drivable wraiths, and it changes the way the wraiths look to look more like they did in other Halo games, because they looked a little different in Halo 1. And this is mostly like the Halo 2 version of the wraith, because basically you can, like, if you remember in Halo 2, the NPCs were able to have these two little plasma cannons that would shoot at you, but the player was not able to use them. Instead, they could use the boost. So in this, it basically flips that around. You can't use the boost on the Wraith, but you could use the turrets, which I think is a good trade-off, because the Wraith is fast enough already. I mean, it's a tank. It shouldn't be going super fast. Not that I don't like the boost in other Halo games, I think it's a worthy trade-off. And that picture is somebody boarding an AA Wraith, so it adds the AA Wraith from Halo 3, but it still also has the plasma cannons. And then you can find a normal Wraith. So 2 Wraiths you can get. It's pretty cool. And then under that you have the Grizzly tank from Halo Wars, which is basically a Scorpion, but like on steroids. So it'll it shoots. It has 2 basically Scorpion cannons on the top, and they shoot at the same time. It's slightly less accurate than the Scorpion, but it's worth it just because of the amount of firepower it has. And then it also has double heavy machine guns on there, so that's also pretty cool. Another thing I wanted to mention: UNSC vehicles can now be damaged, because if you remember, in the original game, Covenant vehicles could actually be damaged. Human vehicles had unlimited health and could never be destroyed. All vehicles can now be destroyed now. To the right of the Grizzly is the Sparrowhawk, which is also from Halo Wars. It's kind of like a cross between a Falcon and a Hornet. It's really, really cool, and it has a ton of firepower. Like, it's almost like a Cobra from real life. Like, basically has, like, super fast, like, missile pod shooters. Like basically it has these missile pods, and it shoots a ton of missiles at a really fast fire rate. And then you also have, like, 2 heavy machine guns that you can use, which are being fired in the picture, which looks pretty cool. And then at the bottom left right here, you have the Phantom. It still has the original Spirit dropship from the game, so you'll have both, but the Phantom you'll see more, like, whenever you're actually fighting people. You see the Spirits, like, mostly in the Truth and Reconciliation, whenever you need to escape with keys. Now, let's move on to enemies. Like I said earlier, we have some skirmishers, and they work exactly like they do in Halo Reach. Some of them are snipers, and then other ones have shields, and they annoyingly run around and run away from you with their shields, blocking your as many bullets as they can, until you can actually finally hit them in the head or something. Anyway, they also added brutes to the game, which is really cool that they did that. By the way, the death animations of the brutes are really interesting. I think they were probably done from scratch. Either that or they somehow implemented ragdoll physics, because, like, the death animations in the brutes, I just don't know how to describe it. It looks like, almost like ragdoll physics. But, like, I actually can't tell whether it is ragdoll physics or an animated death. That's how good they are. And they basically just carry brute weapons, like the ones I showed you earlier. They'll carry various brute weapons, and they don't have shields, but they can take a lot of hits, basically. They're giant bullet sponges, is what they are, with powerful weapons. So you just gotta be careful with them. The elites work exactly like you'd expect. They haven't changed very much. Except for maybe the invisible ones. The invisible elites have no shields whatsoever, and you can basically hit them in the head once with any, like, headshot weapon and they'll die. So I think what they're doing is basically they're trading shields for invisibility, which kind of balances the enemy. To the right of that, you have a new kind of flood combat form called an Honor Guard variant, where basically there's, like, Honor Guard elites in game, and what really distinguishes them from other elites, their shields are ridiculously overpowered against normal human projectile weapons. Like, if you're trying to use something like a battle rifle or an assault rifle, it's hardly going to do anything to an Honor Guard shields. But if you use an energy weapon, then it will eat up their shields really quickly. So basically, you're kind of forced to use energy weapons against Honor Guards. So, unless you just want to waste a bunch of bullets forever, or possibly just get killed. Anyway, so that Honor Guard there is actually Suicide Flood as well. So it has a plasma grenade in its hand, and whenever you kill it, the plasma grenade will explode. Or if they get close to you, the plasma grenade will explode on you. Now, the interesting thing is, as soon as you kill the Honor Guard, as soon as he dies, the plasma grenade explodes immediately. So you can kind of use them as bombs if they're moving among other floods, if you're able to kill them quickly enough. They also have different kinds of jackals now. So this is a jackal major, and almost the only weapon I've ever really seen them use is the brute plasma pistol. And I'm pretty sure the only way you can get a brute plasma pistol is from a jackal major. I haven't really seen them dropped from any other enemy. They have some other jackals, like in the later game, you'll start seeing jackals using human weapons. So you'll have, like, maybe one with a DMR. I saw one with a sniper rifle, and he was really hard to kill, because he was pretty good with it. You also have, right here, you have ODST Flood, and they basically carry Flood on their back, and whenever you kill them, they explode into a bunch of small flood spores. There's also the Hunter. They have different Hunter variants. So that one shoots a beam, shoots a solid beam, like the Hunters from Halo 2. And then you have the ones that are like normal Combat Evolved Hunters, where they shoot a fuel rod gun, basically. And they're the golden hunters, and they're basically the ones from ODST. They shoot just a cannon, a fuel rod cannon. Another interesting thing about the hunters, you can actually pick up the hunter cannons and use them, which is really cool. I've always wanted to be able to do that. And I know they added it in Halo 5, but I don't like Halo 5, so I don't care. And you have to get it from a stupid rec pack anyway. This, you can actually get it. You kill the hunter, you take his gun. That's how it should be. It kind of like gives you an award for like a reward for defeating the hunters, because they can be really difficult sometimes. Although there are ways to kind of work around hunters. Like, one thing, they'll often be kind of close together, so if you can throw a gravity grenade in between them, they'll get sucked into the gravity grenade and it'll do a ton of damage to them. So if you want to deal with hunters quickly, use a gravity grenade. The last kind of hunter is like a all black armored hunter, and it uses like basically a super fast shooting shade turret. And you can also pick that up. The last unique enemy I can really think of is the Sentinel Defender from Halo 2, basically. They added that. The only difference is that it can't pick you up. As far as what I've seen, it can't pick up your vehicle and smash it midair, which was really scary that they could do that. Made them really dangerous. So basically, you gotta take down their front shields and then take them out with a heavy weapon like a rocket launcher, if you want to dispatch them quickly. Because they have heavy, like, they can basically shoot these things that will catch you on fire, like almost like needles from a needler, and then they catch you on fire and that will kill you, and then they shoot these like missiles that will explode next to you and do a ton of damage. Whoops, did not mean to do that. Anyway, friendly NPCs. So you can see here that they actually added ODSTs, and they changed the look of the Marines, which is really cool. They kind of look like almost like a cross between like they did in Combat Evolved and Halo Reach. It's really cool that they did that. Then you have the ODSTs here, and they're basically Marines, but they can take more hits, and they're better trained, they fight better. All of that. They basically act like you'd expect, kind of like in Halo 3. Now, I wanted to talk about the art style of the game. It's kind of like really hard to explain the art style, so I'll just kind of use an analogy. So this is like a screenshot from in-game from 343 Guilty Spark. So you have like small influences, all the good influences of 343's art style. Like, it's not very heavily influenced, so that's why I made the picture really small, because I'm trying to symbolize the influences, like the amount of influence that it has. So it has a very small influence, but it is there. It's very slight, at least from what I've seen. And they take the best parts of 343's art style, I think. And then you have a very, very heavy influence from Halo Reach. Like, I could feel a very strong influence from it. Just because, like, especially in first-person view, if you look at Master Chief's, like, view model for his arm, it looks like kind of like the arm view models from Halo Reach to me. And the vehicles look very much like Halo Reach, and the weapons, it's in the art style of the game in general, is very gritty like Halo Reach. And you also have Halo Reach styled grunts, as you can see, like that grunts kind of like gas backpack thing is the Reach style for some of the grunts. And then there's a slight influence from Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary that I can see. So it's really cool that they kind of like had this influence from everything. And the next thing I wanted to talk about is Master Chief's armor. It looks really unique, but it also looks distinctly Halo at the same time. Like, it kind of is a mix between his Combat Evolved armor and his Halo 2 and 3. Mostly Halo 2, I feel like, but also small influences from Halo 3. Like, he has the scratch right there. In Halo 3, he has a scratch on his chest plate right there. So you can kind of see that incorporated into it. And then the visor looks a lot like it does from Halo 2. But the helmet itself, the helmet shape, is obviously the Mark V helmet from Combat Evolved. His shoulders kind of look like the EOD and EVA shoulders from Halo 3, and then his legs just kind of look like normal Mark 6 armor. But yeah, I like how they kind of mixed all the different versions of Master Chief. I mean, because they had a slight influence on the shoulders, maybe, from Halo 4. And then you could see kind of bits of that part, like, right there. But yeah, I like how they're just taking only little bits of inspiration from Halo 4, because I don't really like Halo 4's art style that much. Well, really, 343's art style. I mean, I like Halo 4 as a game, but I don't like Halo 5. Anyway, and I'll get into the art style discussion maybe another time. Now, criticisms. Certain parts of levels feel extremely repetitive, but it's not really that bad. I mean, because, like, you get through those parts really quickly. But also there's, like, times, like, where the difficulty can feel kind of inconsistent. Like, you'll be just mowing through enemies, like, no problem, and then all of a sudden, you just have this insane difficulty spike. Like, the difficulty is, like, really crazy. Like, basically, through the first half of the game, you have mostly just normal gameplay, you know, just shooting through stuff. Like, basically, you just gotta, like, if you die, just maybe reform your strategy a little bit, and you'll be fine. And you'll get through. You only die a couple times. And then you'll have a couple sections that'll be a little more difficult than others. Then, after the level 343 Guilty Spark, the difficulty, like, has, like, a huge difficulty spike, I feel. Like, it's just way big whenever you hit the library. The library's super hard. And it was like that for the original game in some ways. But imagine what it's like with that difficulty spike and times it by, like, 3. It's crazy, like, how difficult it gets. Just, like, in a matter of, like, what feels like just a couple of seconds. It's just like, bam, it's difficult. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just, like, I was caught completely off guard from it. So, basically, this mod gets really difficult, and I was playing on the easiest difficulty. Speaking of which, there is no easy difficulty. Easy difficulty is removed from the game. You just have normal, heroic, legendary, and then a completely new difficulty, noble, which I'm guessing is like legendary on steroids. Like, you get shot once and you die or something, because I haven't played it yet. I might do it, like, maybe for the first level, just to see what it's like. But, anyway. And another thing is, like, that can be kind of unfair is, like, you'll just have, like, grenades explode on the ground out of nowhere during certain parts, and it just feels like there's nothing you can do about it. And so you just instantly die. That was a little bit unfair. I died from that a couple times, but it's not really that bad. My main criticism. This Jackal Flood, this is the infected Jackal, one of the new enemy types. Basically, it makes this noise whenever it's attacking. You just need to watch the playthrough if you haven't watched it yet. Okay, the first time I heard it, it was kind of cool. It sounds like a Jackal, but like a twisted, distorted version. But when they keep doing it every time they jump, every time you're near them, it gets annoying. So if they could please alter the sound or make it to where they don't make the sound constantly all the time, that would be really great. Because, like, the noise they make is so annoying. That's basically all I really have to say. It's mostly kind of nitpicking. But other than that, I don't really have any more complaints. I love this mod. This mod's amazing. It's just as good as the original game. I wouldn't say necessarily better, because it's kind of like playing a completely different game at this point. Like, it doesn't really feel like the original completely. I mean, it feels like the original underneath everything, if you really look at it at its core, but it just adds so much stuff where you have to just kind of change your play style, and it's completely different. So, yeah, it's a really good game. So, oh yeah, one other thing I forgot to mention. Masters, if you see this, or if anybody on the development team sees this, in the very last part on the mod, there's this weird thing where whenever you're trying to throw grenades into the vents to overload the engine. For some reason, only frag grenades and rocket launcher rockets work to explode it. Like, if I throw a plasma grenade in there, or a cluster grenade, or gravity grenade, it just doesn't work. So, if you see that, please fix it. If you're gonna be still working on the mod. Anyway, that's all my complaints and criticisms, and the stuff that I like. So, the final verdict on the mod, I will give it a 9.5 out of 10. I loved it so much. I mean, it's just because of those couple things that kept it from getting a perfect score. But that's just, it's really me nitpicking. So it's like, it's really close to perfect. I loved the mod a lot. It was a good challenge for me. And it was just a blast to play. So, yeah, that's the final verdict. So, if you enjoyed, leave a like. If you did not enjoy, leave a dislike if you think my opinions are trash. If you want to ask me a question, just leave a comment. I'll leave a link to the mod in the description so you can go and play it. And that's all I really have to say. Basically just, have a good day, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye, everyone. Oh, and one more thing. I'm not going to be uploading this week because I'll be at my mother's house and I don't have my computer there. So I won't be uploading really during this week. And so I won't be able to really say Happy Thanksgiving to you guys. So I'm just going to say it right now. Happy Thanksgiving if you celebrate it. Y'all have a great week. And I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.